Hey everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here. Welcome to my first solo live stream here on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. This is my first solo live stream on YouTube. This is my 11 most anticipated movies for the month of February 2023. And I have got this all set up, I think. Bear with me. I'm using OBS, going solo for the first time, so if some of this works out, great. If it doesn't, let me know down in the chat. And I'm trying to get the chat up and running as we speak. Solo production here, so bear with me as I talk about my top 11, my 11 most anticipated movies for the month of February 2023. Looking in the chat to see if anyone is here. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I've pulled up the chat feature. Boom! Actually, that doesn't look like it's working, so first thing to take note of. So, there are 11 movies that I'm looking forward to in the month of February 2023. There are 15 overall, but once you whittle it down past all of the political and more special interest type films, there are 11 that I'm looking forward to. And if we start with number 11... this is not a movie that I typically would go to see at all, and I haven't seen any of the previous movies in the series, but okay, why is that doing that? Okay, that's the switch over. My number 11 movie for the month of February is Magic Mike Last Dance. And yeah, I don't really care about Channing Tatum shirtless. And yeah, at this point, I really don't even care that much about Selma Hayek. But there's something about this film that looks... oops. that looks... there we go. That looks fun. Try to get all these in the right order. This film looks like a lot of fun. If you watch the trailers for Magic Mike Last Dance, there is a life factor to it. There is a fun factor to it about enjoying life and enjoying the power of dance. And I am not a huge dancer at all. It is not something I do, in my free time. But I get the idea of dance, and the fun of dance captured on film is a fun idea, and it just looks like it has something. And I'm trying to come up with the better words for it, but Magic Mike Last Dance just looks fun. And maybe I don't need to come up with more words to describe it than that. But fun can be in short supply sometimes. And when you're watching a movie and you just want fun, escapist entertainment, why not try a film that has fun? The second thing is this film is directed by Steven Soderbergh. Steven Soderbergh of Aaron Brockovich fame. Steven Soderbergh of a lot of films fame, Ocean's 11 fame. Steven Soderbergh is an Academy Award nominated director and has done a ton of films. And when I was researching this film, I was actually surprised to find out that he had done Magic Mike, one of the Magic Mike previous films. So I'm a huge fan of Steven Soderbergh. I haven't given this film series a chance before. And if any director, of the many directors in Hollywood that have earned the right to try out their films that you haven't seen before, when you find out that they directed, Steven Soderbergh is on that list. The third thing is, and this is just a little bit of an OCD thing, I think, I'm a bit of a completist. When I have not done a Blu-ray collection video yet, but when I do, you will see that for the most part, I am a completist, meaning if I have any of the videos of something, I want to have all of the videos of something. When I have my Indiana Jones collection, I have all of the Indiana Jones movies, and I don't discount the Crystal Skull Indiana Jones 4, which was an awful film. I still have, when I have all of my Star Trek movies, I still have Star Trek the Motion Picture, even though Star Trek the Motion Picture is not a good film. Neither are Star Wars The Last Jedi. I could go on, but I am a bit of a completist, so I have not seen any of the Magic Mike movies before. I don't own any of the Magic Mike movies on Blu-ray, DVD, anything. But the fact that this is the latest film in a sequel trilogy franchise, it does, sadly, I do have to admit, this does hold at least some appeal to me in the fact that I'm a bit of a completist, and I do want to see if this movie is any good and whether or not the other films in the franchise are actually worth watching and possibly an inspiration to go to the gym. So that is Magic Mike Last Dance is my number 11 movie that I'm looking out for in the month of February. The number 10 movie is... Oops. Gotta figure all these out. My number 10 movie for the month of February is Emily, a biopic about the author Emily Bronte and her writing of the film, or of the novel Wuthering Heights, which the film was based off of back in the 1920s, 30s, whatever it was. I am not a huge classical period piece type fan, but I do love biopics. And the fact that this film is directed by a first-time director in Frances O'Connor. I think I'm getting that right. Yeah, Frances O'Connor. That is one of the reasons why I am interested in watching Emily, this film Emily, based off the life of Emily Bronte. I don't know many of the people in this film, but Frances O'Connor has been a longtime actress. And the fact that she is now stepping into the director's chair is always an interesting thing. directors, actors turned directors. Yes, it's a bit of a control grab, but if you watch the trailer for Emily, it actually has a certain energy to it that most period pieces don't tend to have. A lot of period pieces are just people dressed up in corsets and speaking in great British accents, but there's something kind of very formal about most of those period pieces that you see coming up. This one looks a little bit more raw, a little bit more like the details have been sanded down, and we're getting more of a human type story captured on film. A little bit more emotion, a little bit less prim and proper and period specific. Getting all the handkerchiefs right. There's something about this film that it grabs me, and I am always curious to see a first-time director, what they can do their first time out, because like anything else in the creative process, like you're seeing me do with this live stream now, there is a learning curve involved with most of these things, that anything creative, anything technical. So the first time out, it is interesting to see Frances O'Connor in the director's chair, longtime actress, turned director, doing a period piece about Emily Bronte. The second thing that I'm interested to see is the fact that the lead actress is, as I pull up my other page here, is Emma Mackey. She is the one playing Emily Bronte, and I haven't figured out how to get my browser up in this case, but Emma Mackey is in the upcoming Barbie movie, and she is in the Death on the Nile remake that came out last year. It was not a particularly great movie, but the fact that she has already been or will be upcoming in huge Hollywood blockbusters, and she is headlining this movie. I don't know a huge amount of Emma Mackey. I don't remember seeing her in these other films that she has listed here. But in the trailer, she has a certain energy. Yes, there's the defiance there. I'm not huge into defiance, but there is an energy towards life there that is captured on film. So the fact that we're seeing what I believe is Emma Mackey's first lead role, I could be wrong, in a film by a first-time director in Frances O'Connor, I am hoping that combination brings a fresh energy to this story that many people have seen before. I have not personally seen any biopics on Emily Bronte before, but obviously I know the name. I know the name Wuthering Heights. So I am looking forward to Emily. That is the second thing I'm looking forward to, and also seeing Emma Mackey in the Barbie movie, because the Barbie movie actually looks kind of good, which is weird. It looks like it has a good sense of humor, so it'll be interesting to see how Emma Mackey fits in the Barbie movie as well as in this movie, and if you go back and watch Death on the Nile, see what her role is like in that film. The third thing that I'm looking for, and I already kind of spoiled it a little bit, is the energy. I love having good energy, good life in movies. Without energy, everything can be flat. And that doesn't mean that everything has to be manic and always moving. You can have movies that are that are slower paced, that still have energy. Think Meet Joe Black. And there just seems to be a good life in this movie. There seems to be a good energy in this movie. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be fast paced or kinetic and moving all the time, but the fact that there is an energy here that is coming out in the trailers, it does interest me. Not enough to be higher on my list, but I do love a good biopic, and the fact that there is an energy in this trailer, just like there was in the Magic Mike trailer, that is what grabs me. And yes, trailers can be misleading. That's one of the first things you learn watching film, but I do like the energy in this trailer. It doesn't look manufactured. It looks like it's from the actors' performances. And anytime there's a good energy to a trailer, it does interest me in seeing the film. Next on my list, as I scroll up, is True Spirit. I need to prepare this better. Next up on my list is True Spirit. Number 9 on my list is True Spirit. This is a biopic, ocean-going journey about an Australian girl traveling around the world on her sailboat as the youngest free solo boat. I'm not saying that right, but she's a teenager traveling around the world by herself on a sailboat and everything that entails. This is a film that's coming straight to Netflix on February 3rd, so tomorrow if you're watching this live. And the star of the film is... Oops, wrong one. The star of this film is Tegan Croft, and if you're unfamiliar with Tegan Croft, if you're not familiar with Tegan Croft is in the DC Comics movie or DC Comics streaming show Titans that is on HBO Max. It's in the last season of HBO Max as we speak. But Titans has Tegan Croft at the center of the story in season 1 at least. She kind of she pops in and out of the series as it goes along, but she plays Raven. She does a really good job. She was only 14, I believe, when season 1 happened. She's 18 now. So it's interesting to see her get a feature film where she is the lead character and largely working by herself in a boat as it theoretically travels around the world. Anna Paquin's also in it, Cliff Curtis. But mainly the thing here that I'm interested in seeing is if Tegan Croft can carry the shoulders of a film by herself for the most part on her shoulders. Obviously, she's not going to be by herself there the entire film. We do have Anna Paquin and a huge cast behind her. But Tegan Croft in Titans did a great job of doing a lot of a lot of difficult emotional heavy lifting with that part of Raven in Titans. So I am curious to see what she can pull off in this film based on an actual person. The actual real life person is 29 now. So the fact that Tegan Croft is playing a real life person adds a lot of pressure to the role. The fact that she is playing a teenager going around the world in a boat doing a lot of scenes theoretically by herself, similar to what Tom Hanks did in Castaway. That does the idea of that and seeing what that performance and that isolation does to a person, and seeing what you can get out of a performance in that circumstance. The second thing is the fact that this is a biopic, and by biopic, if you don't know what that is a biography / picture, a biographical movie based on the life of the real life person that was a teenager that traveled around the world. I like biopics. I understand that there's anytime you do a based on a true story type of film and you change things to make things and anything. If you combine characters, if you change things to make them more dramatic, or in some cases less dramatic, people will nitpick the story to death. So biopics do tend to put themselves in a place of increased scrutiny. In fact, I believe that's the reason why Steven Spielberg didn't make the Spielbergs. He made the Fablemans. He told his life story and then made it a fable so that he could change things without people saying, well, that didn't happen in real life. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. So the fact that this is a biopic, I like biopics, even though we have to change things in biopics in order to fit into a runtime of an hour and a half, or however long it is. I like biopics. I like the stories that are told in those, seeing what people actually went through in real life, or hopefully went through in real life. So I like the idea of seeing a biopic about someone traveling around the world, something that isn't Castaway with Tom Hanks, and I love Tom Hanks, and I love that film, but that was him stranded on an island like it was Gilligan's Island. This one is more like there's been a few movies like this, but the other movies that I saw that came out that were like this that weren't biopics. They weren't based on actual stories. So this film being, yes, and the title True Spirit is very cheesy. It is very Disney Channel-esque. And yes, this is streaming on Netflix, but True Spirit, even though the title isn't good, if you watch the trailer, it does look like it brings something to the table as far as being a biopic and seeing the actual journey that she went through on her journey around the world. Or if she makes it around the world. I don't know. I didn't research that part of it. The third thing is, yes, the Australian accent. I'm an American. Kill me for for liking an Aussie accent. I love British accents. I love Aussie accents. So the fact that, yes, Tegan Croft is Australian, so her Australian accent is real. Anna Paquin, I believe, is American, so I love Aussie accents. Hearing a film with Aussie accents, it's not the end-all, be-all, but I do love Australian accents. Anything that's slightly off from being just vanilla American. I do love the Aussie accents in the trailer for True Spirit. So those are the three things I'm looking for in True Spirit. Let me look here and see if there are any comments coming in. I don't know if anyone's watching or not. If you are watching, or if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the replay. Oops. Okay, well, that one's not. Okay, let's try that one. Hey, Cody! Cody from the Brock Up side is in the chat. Thank you, Cody, for watching. Thank you for coming on my first live stream last week and doing the live stream with me. I am trying this live stream through OBS directly as opposed to Restream and when we were just talking back and forth. So hopefully this is coming across well, and I'll have to watch the replay to see whether or not I hit all the buttons at the right time, which clearly I'm not hitting all the right buttons, but I wanted to do this as a placeholder for looking up the comments. So my number 8 movie, as I look it up, is, and these are the ones where we're getting into the movies that I'm actually looking forward to watching more, and number 8 is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. As I clear my voice into the microphone, that's always a good thing. Number 8 is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Obviously playing off of the Disney animated movie Winnie the Pooh. Yes, Winnie the Pooh is not an original Disney character. That's why it's in the fair use, or not fair use. It is now in the public use part. It is now old enough to where you can make movies based off of Winnie the Pooh and not have to pay licensing fees, just like you can with Sherlock Holmes now. So when I saw that, or when I heard at first that Winnie the Pooh was going to be a horror film, you think, oh, Baldo, or, whatever the Winnie the Pooh voice is. When you hear that, you think Disney being put into a horror film. You think the animated kid film from when you were a kid. And so I just had to check out the trailer. And when you watch the trailer, yes, it is low budget. Yes, it is really kind of cheesy. But the fact that this is a bloody looking film. The trailer I watched is a green band trailer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And there are some red band trailers out there that are more bloody. But so the trailer I saw, the blood was implied. It wasn't directly seen in the trailer. But when you have a hard R, rated R type film, and when you're adapting a children's novel, book, movie, radio show, probably, when you're taking a beloved children's character like Winnie the Pooh and you're putting them into a horror film, it better be bloody. There's no half measures here. If you're taking a beloved figure from when you're growing up and watching those cartoons, a beloved Disney film, and you're putting them in a horror film, it better be bloody. I'm really looking forward to seeing Winnie the Pooh pick up an axe and start killing people left and right. It is a horror film after all. I'm not huge into horror films in general, but the idea of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and all of the other members from the 100 Acre Wood going on a vengeance kind of thing, that does have an appeal to me. It's one of those things where if you're going to go full tilt horror film, don't go PG-13 horror. Go full hard R, bloody Winnie the Pooh killing people. That part, the idea of doing a bloody hard R horror film with Winnie the Pooh, there is just something that's fun about that. The second thing is, yeah, it's impossible not to think of the Disney cartoons when thinking of Winnie the Pooh. When I think about the Disney cartoons, the feature films, the solo film, or the solo animation for Winnie the Pooh, I think back to when I was a kid and how great that animation was and how fun it was, and the great voiceover work that was done, the great character work that was done for Winnie the Pooh and for Piglet and all the other characters in there, Kanga and Roo and all of them. So I am really looking forward to it based off of my love of the Disney cartoons from growing up, and seeing how that juxtaposes, how that compares to the bloody horror film, the hard R horror film. The third thing, and you see this in the trailers, is that one of the things in the trailers that is a bit of a spoiler is that they're basing this idea for the horror film of Winnie the Pooh based on Christopher Robin growing up and abandoning Piglet and Pooh and all of the characters in the 100 Acre Wood, and they come back angry. Grr. So there is something kind of universal about abandonment issues, fear of abandonment, and the fact that they're actually trying to put some sort of human element into this horror film and not just making it a slasher film and having Winnie the Pooh go crazy and start killing people. The fact that there could be a good storyline there, dealing with abandonment, dealing with anger based off of abandonment, it does bring up the idea that this could become a whole series if the first film is well done and there's actual filmmaking and there's an actual story being told here. And if you watch the trailer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, great title by the way, if you watch the trailer for that, there is that sort of, the sadness of childhood turning into anger, turning into, you abandoned me, And if they can capture that and put it into the actual story of the film itself, and not just have a bunch of random killing, but there's a reason for it, that could actually make for a pretty good film, and not just a horror film based off of childhood characters. So that is those are the three things for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and honestly too, this film just looks like a ton of fun. My number 7. Gotta work on these next time. My number 7 film for the month of February is a rom-com. It is February, so it is Valentine's Day month. So we are going to get a bunch of rom-coms, romantic comedies, and there's something about there's something about this film. My number 7 film is Your Place or Mine, starring Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher. This is a bifurcated storyline. This is a movie that mostly takes place in New York and LA, where two lifelong friends who now live on separate coasts switch lives for a period of time and they find out that they've been loving each other. They've actually loved each other without knowing it for the entire time. Yes, this is a trope that we see a lot in rom-coms, romantic comedies. This is something that we've seen many times before, and the success or failure. Oops. Oh, there we go. The success or failure of this film is probably going to rest on Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher's performances all by themselves. This is a Netflix film, and the cinematography and everything actually looks pretty good for being a Netflix film. I think they're raising their artistic standards when you look at a lot of older Netflix exclusive films that did not go to theaters. A lot of times, you could tell that they knew they weren't making a film that was going to be seen on the big screen, so they didn't bother as much with all of the technical things. They just wanted to put out a film as fast as they could. But Netflix looks like as Netflix as a platform is maturing, it looks like they're raising their standards a bit. They're canceling shows a little bit faster, and they're giving higher budgets to films that are going to be streaming exclusively on Netflix. So this film looks a lot better, and there is a certain glossy aspect that we like when we see a rom-com. I think we like seeing perfect lighting. We like seeing good-looking people in perfect lighting, having a romance and a comedy all rolled up into one. There is something about that where the technical stuff matters because it's supposed to be glossy. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's supposed to be a bit aspirational, a bit inspirational, and there is just something about that where the money, I think, does play into how we perceive the films a little bit. So, rom-coms, yes, they can get a bit of a bad knock. It's not one of my favorite genres, but I am kind of coming around on it a little bit more. I am coming around a little bit more on rom-coms, and trying to try them out a little bit more, especially since it's February, it's Valentine's Day. You got to have something decent to watch for Valentine's Day. So for me, Your Place or Mine kind of looks like a fun roll swap, New York, LA kind of thing. The second thing that I'm looking forward to is Reese Witherspoon. She hasn't been doing as many movies the last couple of years. I get that she's married and she has kids and she has to have a life outside of filmmaking, but I do love Reese Witherspoon, and I do love the Legally Blonde movies, and I do love a lot of her earlier work. I loved Reese Witherspoon in Pleasantville, and there's something a little muted about her performance in this trailer, at least. There is something about her being a little less confident, a little less out there, a little more used to being at home and living the home life and being a mom at home. So it'll be interesting to see Reese Witherspoon playing a mom to a teenage kid and seeing how that changes her performance in a rom-com with Ashton Kutcher. Obviously, Ashton Kutcher looks like he's playing the playboy, the single life, the rich guy that has no attachments, has no kids, just still living the dating life in his late 30s, early 40s. There is something that's interesting about that juxtaposition, that comparison between the guy who never settles down and the single mom who was his childhood friend. So I love the idea of Reese Witherspoon matched up with Ashton Kutcher in this swap where, to be honest, I don't even know how much we're actually going to see of them together on film. This looks like a film where they're living separate lives and just connecting via phone call or FaceTime. So it'll be interesting to see what Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher have chemistry-wise, and the changes that we're going to see in Reese Witherspoon as she hits the second chapter of her career. The third thing is, and if I really think about this, this is not redundant. Romance is separate than romantic comedy. Yes, romance is the first part of romantic comedy. Yes, they are similar words, there are similar phrases, but when you really think about a romance in a film, that is separate from a rom-com. A romance, a romantic storyline, a romance aspect to a character, to a story, there is something, and I'm defining my own word. I'm defining a word with itself, which is a no-no. according to every English teacher. But there is something about the romance to this story that jumps off the screen when you're watching the trailer. There's yes, it's a bit predictable. Yes, it is a rom-com, but this is not vegetable cinema. This is comfort food cinema. This is the kind of thing that you watch when you want to feel good. This is not a biopic. This is comfort food cinema where you're watching a romantic comedy for Valentine's Day on Netflix. You're Netflixing by yourself at home. So, or Netflixing and chilling with someone, as the case may be. But the romance aspect to this film does jump out as being something that looks like it could be fun and could be a little bit more than just comfort food for your place or mine. Look back at our comments. Cody saying the stream's looking good. Perfect. Thank you. I'm trying to. I used to do my top 10 monthly movies that I was looking forward to, but those videos to shoot and edit them took 2 weeks to produce, and I love doing them, but they never had any traction. So I did them for over a year, and this is kind of more of an attempt to spend 2 days. I spent 2 days preparing for this live stream. I know you can totally tell the work I put in, but I am really hoping that I can do my monthly preview videos, my top 10, top 11 movies I'm looking forward to watching in whatever month it is. I'm hoping to do this more as a live stream, and if I can get the comments up on the screen as I'm doing it and provide that interaction back and forth, I'm hoping that is going to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactive, and get a little bit more engagement, as we all say. Upside Dan is here. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for tuning in to see my first ever solo live stream on Dragon Movie Guy. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this. I still have to figure out how to try and put the live comments up on the screen. Yes, technical problems. This is, as we say in Vegas, a soft open to a live stream. So, Dan from the Upside Dan, thank you for being here, and Cody from the Brock Outside, thank you for being here as well. So I'm going to jump back into my countdown. My number 6 movie now is Marlowe. This is, I gotta take the things down so I'm not spoiling myself. Okay. My number 6 movie for the month of February is Marlowe. This is a film noir based off of the character of Philip Marlowe, played by Liam Neeson in this case. This is a film that's based off of the character of Philip Marlowe, which had a ton of novellas back in the 30s and 40s. They got turned into feature films that became the classic film noir films that we all know and love. Double Indemnity, all of those types of films, based off of the blonde femme fatale and the hard drinking, the hard smoking private eye. It's all based off this character. It's all based off of Marlowe. So the fact that we're going back and doing a modern day take on the character of Philip Marlowe, played by Liam Neeson, is there we go. The first thing on my list as to what I am looking forward to in the film Marlowe. Liam Neeson, I love Liam Neeson, and it's weird to think about, but Liam Neeson is now in his 60s, but he has done so many films where he's in his 60s and he's still kicking ass. The idea of him as a classic film noir leading man isn't as far-fetched as you might think when you think, God, Liam Neeson, mid-60s, really is not just the romantic leading man, but he's still kicking people's ass. Well, he is 6'5", 6'6". He is a big dude, and to see him kick ass in so many different films, I'm brain farting. I'm forgetting the reference, but to see Liam Neeson still alive, still kicking, and literally kicking ass in so many different films. The idea of him playing more of a restrained character, more of a classic film noir character that we've all seen before, played by different guys like James Cagney and guys like that. The fact that we're getting him in this classic film noir role really it's an interesting combination, because I don't really think of Liam Neeson as being that 40s leading man. Let's see here, see here. Uh, I don't really think of Liam Neeson in those terms. I do think of him as a current type figure. So the idea of him in a 40s period piece, chain smoking and drinking hard and chasing dames with the platinum blonde hair, there is something that is appealing to doing a modern day take on a film noir from the 40s, not just a modern film noir. If that makes sense. The second thing is film noir as a genre. I do like. I'm not a huge film noir fan. It is something that I like individual film noir fans. I do like film noir as a genre more than I do westerns. But there is something about film noir if it's done right. If film noir is done wrong, it's like watching paint dry for 2 hours. If film noir is done right, if you can do a classic film noir like Maltese Falcon or Double Indemnity, which clearly this film is channeling a lot of the tropes from Double Indemnity, if they can do it the right way, if you do film noir the right way, even though it's slower in pace, there is a certain energy to film noir that can be interesting and fun and read like a classic detective novel on the screen. So film noir, if film noir is done the right way, I love film noir done the right way. And the third thing I'm looking forward to is the femme fatale in this role. Playing the femme fatale, we actually have a couple of characters, but as I scroll forward, the femme fatale in this case there's actually theoretically two of them, but the main femme fatale is Diane Kruger. Diane Kruger, try that again. Diane Kruger, you might know from the National Treasure movies with Nicolas Cage. Diane Kruger is a German actress. She's done a lot of good work. So to see her as the femme fatale role in this, with she has natural blonde hair, but the platinum blonde hair that we get when we see mysterious femme fatales seducing the hard scrabble leading man, in this case Liam Neeson. I do love the idea of that. And then also in this is playing her mom, or I believe it's probably her mom, is Jessica Lange, who was a 80s movie and an 80s movie star who you might know better as being in American Horror Story, that whole series of American Horror Story seasons put out by Ryan Murphy. So the idea of having these two femme fatales in the same movie in a 40s period piece film noir with Liam Neeson, I like the idea of that across the board. So that is number 6. That is Marlowe. My choice for number 6. My number 5 film that I'm looking forward to. Okay, there we go. My number 5 film that I'm looking forward to is a dramedy coming out. Another film coming out in honor of Valentine's Day. It is February after all. It's Somebody I Used to Know. Not somebody that I used to know, somebody I used to know, and it's coming out to Prime Video on Amazon Prime. This is a film that stars, it has the combination of the real-life married couple, Alison Brie and Dave Franco. This is Dave Franco's directorial debut with directing his wife, Alison Brie, who both of them know each other, obviously, for being in Hollywood, but also from the show Community. it'll be interesting to see what Dave Franco brings to the equation, because James Franco has done a great job directing films before, and Dave Franco being his little brother, it wouldn't surprise me if this is a film that has a lot of fun to it, a lot of surprising fun and drama to it. Plus, there's the whole thing of Dave Franco being the little brother and having to catch up to his big brother in terms of James Franco. So I love the idea of Dave Franco directing his wife, and this being a rom-com, so he's having to direct his wife be romantic with some other guy. That is sort of an interesting idea. And the idea behind this film being that you have friends or you have a couple that used to date 10 years ago. They're not dating anymore, but they run into each other on the eve of the wedding. That does sound interesting. And you have Alison Brie as the former girlfriend meeting up with the current fiancé, about to be married, new wife of a person she used to care about, playing the role of somebody I used to know. See what we're doing there? I do love the basic premise of this story. So many rom-coms are a bit contrived. But this one is not a storyline that I've seen before, that I recall, and that's a good sign, because obviously I may have seen movies like this before, but the fact that there is a fresh take on it means that there's not one that's immediately popping up in my mind going, oh yeah, seen that before. That part of it is what I'm partially looking forward to. The second thing is, yes, and I kind of already spoiled it, a Community reunion. I like Community. I'm not a huge Community fan. I like Community. I don't love it. I love the idea of Community more than I actually like the execution of Community, but the cast on Community is amazing. Joel McHale, Alison Brie, so many people have come out of this show that it is great to see. Like for the directors of the last couple of Avengers movies, and as well as Captain America: Civil War, Captain America: Winter Soldier. The fact that those directors came out of Community just goes to show how much talent there was involved with that show, and the kind of cult following that wasn't enough to keep Community on the air for a full 7 seasons, but the fact that it was able to have a second life streaming online, and that they're actually working on a movie to fulfill the Abed trope of 6 seasons in a movie. I like Community. I don't love Community, but I do like Community. So the idea of having the actor who played Abed in this movie with Alison Brie, having a little bit of a Community reunion, and throwing in Dave Franco as the husband there, directing his feature film debut. I love the idea of having a Community reunion in a feature film, even though it's going to be streaming on Prime. I do like that idea, getting those guys, those actors, in a different setting and seeing what they can do. And the third thing that I'm looking forward to is somebody I used to know, is choices. The fact that we all have choices to make, and yes, rom-coms and dramedies, the choices tend to be fairly benign, fairly obvious, fairly predictable. But when I watched the trailer for Somebody I Used to Know, you start off thinking that you know what the choices that are going to be made are before they're being made. But if I know Dave Franco's work, and I know Alison Brie's work, and seeing what she has done on Glow, it's not the most predictable. It's a lot of predictable choices that need to be made, but the choices that are actually made in the creative process that actually end up on film aren't necessarily predictable, but they usually end up being the right choices for the story. So it'll be interesting to see what the choices are that are set up in this trailer, to see what they are in the movie when it actually comes out on Prime for Valentine's Day. It'll be interesting to see what these characters do, what Alison Brie's choice is. Is she going to try and break up the wedding ceremony? Is she going to try and get back together with her ex? Is she going to side with the bride to be, with the new friend, or is she going to settle with the old friend? What are the choices she's going to make? That actually is sort of an interesting thing that grabs my attention in this trailer for somebody I used to know. Number 4. My number 4. Okay. My number 4 movie for the month of February is Try that again. Take 2. My number 4 movie for the month of February is Sharper. This is a heist / confidence man film starring John Lithgow, Julianne Moore, and a whole cast of characters. Sebastian Stan. If you like, put this up. I'm someone who I am someone who loves con artist movies and heist movies. They are 2 different things, but the fact that we're getting both in this film, we're getting a con artist movie, a confidence man movie, and a heist movie in the same movie, and the fact that John Lithgow is in this film really grabbed my attention. John Lithgow is such an amazing actor, and he plays his comedic self and his dramatic self are so close to each other that you can turn on Third Rock from the Sun, you can turn on Raising Cain, you can turn on Dexter, the season in which John Lithgow was in, and he's giving a very similar performance the entire time. But the fact that his the fact that his dramatic horror film version is so close to his comedic performance is part of what makes John Lithgow so brilliant. So the fact that he is playing the Mark in this film, the evil Mark that they're going to try and steal money from, it's a fascinating role to put John Lithgow in. It makes sense based off of his age, but the thing about those roles, when you have the Mark, when you have a character that has the money, they usually have to be a really good actor to play the person that everyone has to come together to try and pull the wool over their eyes. They have to have enough gravitas, they have to have enough acting ability for you to believe that they became a billionaire on their own, that they are the one who established themselves, and that they established themselves enough that you're going to believe them from the get-go, from the start of the film, without seeing them become a billionaire. I love John Lithgow, and the idea of John Lithgow as the role of the Mark in Sharper, the one that all the con artists have to try and con, when he's probably conned a lot of people in the past himself. I love that idea. The third thing, the mystery. And yes, this is a heist movie. Yes, this is a con artist movie. But every good con artist / heist movie, there's a bit of a mystery angle to it where you don't quite know what's going to happen. Even if you look at Ocean's 11, there is a bit of a mystery there where you don't know if it's going to come up, if it's going to work or not. So the idea of the mystery being, is there going to be a double cross? Are they going to be able to pull off the heist? Is John Lithgow's character aware of what's going on? As the guy who used to be the con artist himself, as the guy that became a billionaire, that has all that confidence, that has all that cockiness. The fact that, is he going to be self-aware enough to blow up the plot of the film, or is he going to blow it? So the mystery part of the storytelling and the story angle is also what's grabbing my attention in the trailers for Sharper, coming to Apple TV on February 17th. So and if you really look at this cast too, as I hit refresh, as I hit refresh one more time. So director Benjamin Caron, I have not heard too much on, but the idea of seeing this cast of Justice Smith, Brianna Middleton, Sebastian Stan, and of course Julianne Moore, and make sure I'm not missing anybody, and of course John Lithgow. I love this cast. I love most of what they've done in the past, and to see John Lithgow as Mark, to see the con artist story at play, to see the double crossing that might happen. I love heist films. I love heist movies as a genre, and this looks like it could be a good film to watch as well. Coming to Apple TV Plus, Apple TV, can't forget the plus, on February 17th. My number... Oh, let's look back and see if I have... Oh! Wow, okay, great. Upside Dan, going to knock at the cabin soon. Yes, Knock at the Cabin is opening today. It is opening tonight. The film with Dave Bautista, the M. Night Shyamalan film, which, if you look at the first trailers for Knock at the Cabin, it looks like a small, almost kind of indie film, low-budget type film, and then the latest trailers for Knock at the Cabin have had all these really big CGI waves, so that'll be an interesting film to watch. I didn't put that in my top 11 for February, but I do love M. Night Shyamalan. The Upside Dan. Yeah, I'm not huge on noir. I'm not huge on noir. Good. Let me try reading this again. Yeah, Marlowe looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm not huge on noir either. Usually, yeah, noir is a weird. It's such a weird. It's such a weird. It's such a weird film group that and to me, unless noir is done exactly the right way, it's hard. It's hard to get right. If I stumble over my words even more, noir is such an interesting one because if you do a noir film right, it's amazing. If you're even slightly off with the execution of the film in noir, it usually comes off very flat. Like the Death on the Nile remake that came out last year, very flat, off the mark, was not good at all. So to me, noir is a film trope. It's a category where you have to make a noir film good. It's got to be good, otherwise it's not worth watching at all. So yeah, I'm with you there on noir. The Rental. Let's see. Okay, Upside Dan. The Rental was also directed by Franco, and Brie was in it. Okay, so I have not seen that film. I thought that this was his directorial debut. Clearly, I need to double check my research on that. But I do, just Dave Franco. There's something about his sense of humor, even in supporting roles. If you look at him in if you look at him in that sorority movie with Zac Efron and Seth Rogen, him in a supporting role in that film, and even in the Now You See Me films, Dave Franco in a supporting role even is amazing and brings something to the screen without a whole lot of screen time. So that is a good thing to note. The Rental, I do need to definitely check out The Rental. And Upside Dan says, I'm excited for this one too. I can't remember. I don't have a timestamp on here, and I'm kind of doing them. I'm kind of going back at every few entries. I'm kind of going back and looking. So I'm assuming you're meaning either Sharper or somebody I used to know. Dan. So yeah, both of those films look really good, and I'm really excited to see them. And it looks like Dan is off to see the movie. He says, Upside Dan says, off to see Knock at the Cabin. I'll catch up from the beginning and the rest of the video later. Great first solo live stream. Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate you showing up to show your support. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this is providing some entertainment, and I'm not completely going off the rails. Yes, I know it's a lot of fun, but I'm trying to find the right pacing and energy, and so hopefully this is a good experience to watch. My number 3 film for the month of February is a Netflix horror comedy. For some reason, this isn't coming out in October. It makes sense that it would come out in October, but we have a ghost. That's the title. We have a ghost coming into Netflix. It is a comedy horror film, and it stars... We have a ghost. We have a ghost. Looks like a lot of fun. It stars David Harbour as a ghost who can't speak. It also has Anthony Mackie. So Falcon / the new Captain America is playing the dad of a family that moves into an old mansion that's haunted by a ghost played by David Harbour. David Harbour is one of those guys that I was aware of him on Stranger Things, but I didn't watch much from Stranger Things, so he kind of, I was aware of him, and then I became aware of him more when he was in the Hellboy remake, the Hellboy reboot. I did not watch the Hellboy reboot because it didn't have Ron Perlman. All that to say that I was aware that David Harbour was Hellboy, but it wasn't until Ghostbusters Afterlife came along and Violent Night came along a few months ago that I really started taking a look at David Harbour's work and how good he can be at not being too much of an actor, but bringing enough things that are interesting, enough things that are different that aren't on the page to a role and making them very interesting. And one of the fun things I love about any kind of actor roles is actors, when they're left to their own devices, I love the creativity, but sometimes it can go a little bit over the top. David Harbour seems to find a good balance between being an actor and just doing what's on the page. He's not the greatest actor of all time, but he is an actor that's coming. I think he's coming into his own and working into that role of being a leading man, not just a character actor, but being able to lead a film. And I love the idea of having to overcome something in this film, and the fact that we have David Harbour playing a ghost who you can't hear, that doesn't necessarily know a lot of his own past and how he got to become a ghost, that's interesting. So the fact that we have David Harbour, as I click back on there, the fact that we did have David Harbour as a ghost in a film like this, it sounds funny, but I'm sure there's probably going to be a little bit of sadness and action element to this as well. I love what David Harbour did in Violent Night. He reimagined Santa as a warrior from like the 12th century. So, the idea of David Harbour being a middle-aged ghost with a comb-over who doesn't even know his name or know his history or how he got to become a ghost, I like the story behind that, and the idea of him as an actor, trying to communicate all of that without being able to speak. That's interesting. The second thing that I love about this is the fact that this is a comedy. I love Anthony Mackie, and I love the idea of him playing a dad. And we've seen this setup before where a family moves into a house and it's haunted, and they have to figure out whatever the story is. But Anthony Mackie, we've seen him be the comedic sidekick in a bigger film, but we haven't seen him be the lead straight man in the dad in the film, trying to solve whatever the mystery is, or being the dad to the kids who solve it in this case. So I love comedies, and I love the idea of a ghost comedy on Netflix. I know we already had one that came out in actual October this past year. So the fact that we have a ghost is being dumped in February worries me a little bit. But I love David Harbour. What he did in Violent Night is amazing. I love Anthony Mackie, and the rest of this cast looks pretty good as well. So the fact that we're doing this more as a comedy than a horror film, it's an interesting choice. It'll be fun to watch, and it's coming to Netflix in February. My number 2 movie, it's a bit of a stretch, and to be honest, I didn't even know whether or not to include it in my list. But my number 2 movie is one that I'm actually really looking forward to, and if you watch the trailers a couple of times, the first time you watch the trailer, it looks awful. It looks like, how could they get funding for this? And then you watch the trailer a couple of more times, and you love it, and you start catching on to it more. And then when you watch it a third time, you go, oh, yeah, this is a film that I have to watch. The film I'm talking about, of course, is my number 2 film for the month of February is Cocaine Bear. Yes. Cocaine Bear. The story of a bear hopped up on cocaine. There's something, yes, this looks stupid, but when you actually see the trailers and you see the story and you see the effort they're going to put in the story, there's something about this film that grabs my attention. It is... Cocaine Bear looks like it is purposely cheesy. And I love cheesy comedies. I love cheesy films. And the fact that this is not a pure comedy, it's an action comedy. But the fact that it's self-aware, sort of like Snakes on a Plane, it is self-aware as to how stupid the premise is, and they're playing into the stupidity of the premise. I love self-aware films like that if they're done right, but you have to get it just right. You have to get that sense of humor just right. You have to get the self-awareness down just right. Otherwise, the self-aware bad movie will be a bad movie. You can have a film like Snakes on a Plane that knows it's a stupid film, like Dude, Where's My Car? That film knows it's a stupid film, and it plays it just right. If you knowingly do a stupid movie and you don't play it right, it becomes Dumb and Dumber, or Dumb and Dumber 2. Like T.O., like the third Dumb and Dumber film, but the actual second one with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. If you do a dumb movie badly, it comes across even worse than the joke that the film is a bad movie in the first place. So the fact that this film looks cheesy, and they're self-aware that it's cheesy, fingers crossed, I hope that it's going to be the good kind of cheesy and not the bad kind of cheesy. But that's the first thing I'm looking out for. The second thing is the CGI bear. And yeah, you got to have a CGI bear because you're not going to take an actual bear and put it on cocaine. The PETA people would go nuts for a real bear on cocaine. And honestly, too, I don't know how you would actually have real cocaine in a bear. So that doesn't make any sense. It's a non-starter for the film. So the idea that that they're getting a CGI bear, and for the record, I do not like Green Eggs and Ham. No, I don't like CGI in general. I think CGI is overused. It is not photorealistic, and CGI as a whole it's a lazy crutch for filmmakers to say we'll fix it in post. All that to say, when you take a purposely CGI bear, when you take a purposely cheesy CGI bear that's not supposed to look photorealistic, it's not supposed to look like Lion King, because Lion King is CGI, and that wasn't good either. When you take a purposely cheesy CGI bear that doesn't look photoreal, I love the idea of playing into that trope of how bad CGI can be, and having purposely bad CGI in a purposely cheesy film of a purposely CGI bear hopped up on CGI cocaine. Yes, I love the idea of a CGI bear hopped up on CGI cocaine in this film, going around and doing whatever CGI bears do. The third thing is, and I didn't see this until the second or third time watching the trailer for Cocaine Bear, is that Ray Liotta passed away several months ago, and it's one of those things where you note when a big time Hollywood actor passes away, you note that they pass away, and then after a while you kind of forget about it. Well, it's been several months since Ray Liotta passed away, so to watch a brand new movie for a film that hasn't come out yet, and to see Ray Liotta pop up 2/3 of the way through the trailer, I forgot that for a moment that Ray Liotta was dead. Not that I did, but you suspend disbelief when you're watching a 2-minute trailer, and all of a sudden, boom, there's Ray Liotta. So I looked up Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta has 4 films that are yet to come out on his IMDb page. And if you love Ray Liotta and how manic and angry and how fiery he could be, Cocaine Bear looks like a pretty good choice to go into that classic Ray Liotta performance category. and will be one of the at least what I believe are the final 4 performances of Ray Liotta's career. So the fact that Ray Liotta is in this film, he's passed away in real life, but he's in a film that has yet to come out. I love the idea of that film. My number 1 movie shouldn't be any surprise. My number 1 movie for the month of February, pretty much any time an MCU movie comes out, pretty much any time of, let me try that one more time. Pretty much any time a new MCU movie comes out, it'll be number 1 on my list for whatever month that is. And Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or Ant-Man Part 3, is no exception to that. Looks like we're getting all of our main characters coming back. We're getting Paul Rudd back as Ant-Man. We're getting... We're getting Evangeline Lilly coming back as the Wasp. And we are introducing our bad guy for Phase 5, Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. So my first thing with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is it's the kickoff to Phase 5. Phase 4, coming off of Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home, or Long Way Home. Anyway, Spider-Man, the second of the home Spider-Man. Coming off of Phase 3, Phase 4 has been mixed results, to say the best. I love Spider-Man No Way Home. I like most of the films. I hated Thor 4. So the fact that we're going into Phase 5, not in the usual position we are with the MCU and how good the MCU has traditionally gotten over the first 10, 15 years of the MCU, I look at this as a fresh start for the franchise, for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. And I like the idea that Ant-Man is relevant again. I like the character of Ant-Man more than I like the Ant-Man movies. Even though I like the Ant-Man movies, they're nowhere near the top of my MCU ranking. The Ant-Man movies are fun, but they're usually not consequential. They're usually sort of just off on their own. And yeah, there's some connections to the main story of the MCU, but Ant-Man, for the most part, has not been a really consequential character. Obviously, because as long as you're going to cast Paul Rudd in that role, it's not a character of consequence. It's funny, it's got heart, but that's not the character that you put consequential storylines behind a character played by Paul Rudd, for the most part. In this case, we are introducing Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3. So the idea of Ant-Man as Scott Lang, as leading man, as big player, playing a tiny character. the idea of Scott Lang as Ant-Man stepping up and becoming a bigger figure, even as he physically gets smaller and smaller in the MCU, is a really interesting way to kick off Phase 5. The other thing is Kang the Conqueror. I am not a comic book reader in the slightest. I respect comics as a form of art, but I don't read the comics in general. I love cartoons. I love superheroes. I love graphic arts. I love all of the. I love superhero video games, cartoons, live action, all of it. But I'm not a cartoon. I'm not a graphic novel reader. I'm not a reader of the comics. I am aware of Kang the Conqueror, and I really look forward to seeing Jonathan Majors playing Kang the Conqueror as the new big bad, the new Thanos for phases 4, 5, and 6, leading into the Avengers films. The fact that we're getting Kang the Conqueror properly introduced. I know we've had a few teasers here, mid-credit sequence, that sort of thing, but the fact that we're getting Kang the Conqueror in the flesh, so to speak, properly introduced in Ant-Man Part 3, and they've been doing a lot of push for 3D in Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man 3D, for the kickoff of Phase 3. I'm hoping that they're going to put a lot of effort into the 3D. All that to say, Kang the Conqueror, the first look at the big bad, first true look at the big bad for Phase 4, 5, and 6 in the MCU. played by Jonathan Majors, who is really coming on in his career. The fact that we're also getting him in Creed 3 as the bad guy in Creed 3 coming out in a month. Jonathan Majors is on the rise. So the fact that we're getting a shot of Jonathan Majors as he's emerging his career, as he's really hitting it big, I like the idea of him as Kang the Conqueror. I love the idea that we're getting Kang the Conqueror really, truly for the first time in Ant-Man Part 3. And we're also kind of time jumping ahead a little bit, and we're seeing Scott Lang's kid kind of growing up and becoming a superhero herself. Kind of interesting as well. The third thing is Quantum. Now, I love the movie Quantum, or the TV show Quantum Leap. I love that we're bringing back the whole quantum running joke from Ant-Man and the Wasp from Ant-Man Part 2, and everything in Ant-Man Part 2 was quantum, right? Every fifth word in the script for Ant-Man and the Wasp was quantum. So the fact that we're doing Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, it sounds like almost a bit of a joke title, but they're putting so much effort into putting us in the quantum realm. We've seen Scott Lang go down to the quantum realm a little bit in the first film. We saw him go down more in the second film, and we saw Michelle Pfeiffer emerge from the quantum zone in the second film. But the majority of the trailers for Quantumania looks like the film mostly takes place in the quantum realm. So I love the idea of the 3D aspect of it, the quantum realm aspect of it, and how much effort they're putting into the visuals for the actual Quantumania setting. I love the idea of that. I love how weird they're trying to get as they kick off Phase 5. Peyton Reed coming back as the director for Phase 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp Part 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I love the idea of this. So these have been my movies for the month of February that I'm really looking forward to. One more time. I hit refresh. Sorry, folks. But thank you for tuning in to watch my first solo live stream. Hopefully it has been entertaining despite all of the technical snafus. I actually went through this and did a practice run a couple of times, so this is live. It's live to tape, and hopefully anyone watching this on the replay, you can bear with me a little bit and let me know in the comments section below this video. What movies are you looking forward to watch in February? Let me know if you think my list is right. If it doesn't match up with your list, what movies am I forgetting? What movies on this list should be higher than what they are? And what movies on my list are a lot lower than what they were? Like the fact that I did not include Knock at the Cabin on my list. Should that have been in my top 11 for the month of February? Let me know in the comments section down below. Also, please be sure to hit a like and subscribe if you like to see more movies like this. And let me know also, the big thing is, let me know in the comments section whether you like this live stream format for doing my look ahead to each month. Obviously, I will hopefully get a lot better technically doing these live streams. But is this a format, doing a live stream where you can comment, you can be in the live chat, and I can respond to your questions and comments as we're doing the countdown? Let me know if you like this format better than the old format we produce videos. Because quite frankly, I abandoned the produced videos for my top ones for each month because it took too long and it wasn't getting any traction. So I think this is a format in which I can be more interactive with everyone who's watching, and I can do that and still get my content out and being more interactive. Hopefully, we'll have more energy and be more fun and more engaging, and even people watching the replay hopefully will be able to enjoy it. So Thank you for watching, everybody. I've been Dragon Movie Guy, and thank you for watching my top 11 movies for the month of February.